Some nations bicker across a garden fence. France and England, a rivalry of centuries. America and France, an argument between old friends. But here, at the end of the world, the dispute is of a different order. Argentina and Chile draw lines on maps, claiming dominion over a land that recognizes no human authority. Between their discordant territories, distance itself becomes a kingdom. One can drive for 300 kilometers and meet nothing, not a single soul. There is only the wind, the parched earth, and a horizon that consumes all things. On a map, Patagonia is a simple dagger of land, the final word of a continent. In reality, it is a world fractured and remade, a landscape shattered by glaciers, its mountains carved to the bone. Gulfs have been gouged by the patient rise of the sea, and its plateaus scoured flat by a wind that never ceases. In the north, in a region of impossible blues, lies the land of lakes. Here, along the shore of Lake Nahuel Huapi, the town of Bariloche took root, born from a wave of European settlement in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Its life began at the water's edge, then crept upward, sending neighborhoods climbing into the forested slopes. The mountains rise in long, parallel ridges, and the valleys below hold the same ancient orientation, a memory of the forces that shaped this basin. An echo of Central Europe is concentrated in the historic district, where the design of hotels, shops, and civic buildings still follows the original street grid. The lake itself is a monument of the Ice Age, a vast glacial depression, fed by streams born in the highest peaks. Its deep, cold arms stretch into the Andes, pointing the way to passes used by the first mapping expeditions at the turn of the 20th century. Steep, sheer walls define the basin's edge. Long terraces mark the former shorelines along its arms. The color of the water is a living thing, changed by the silt and stone carried down from the valleys above. Further north, on a narrow peninsula of dense forest, sits Villa La Angostura. Before roads, its small, sheltered coves were gateways to the wilderness, allowing timber operators to load and move logs cut from the ancient woods. Later, homes would grow around these same points of access, occupying the few clearings in a world of native trees. But peace in this land is merely an interval. In 2011, the earth reminded all who lived here of its power. The Puyahue volcano erupted, and the sky fell. The town, the forests, the lakes, all were buried beneath a thick, suffocating shroud of ash. Yet the land endures. The Seven Lakes Corridor still follows its chain of glaudes a different shade of blue, a unique signature written by its depth and sediment. The route threads through deep forest and past exposed rock, a journey that reveals how each basin commands its own distinct terrain. On the western flank of the Andes, in Chile, the town of Puerto Varas occupies a slope overlooking the immense Lake Lanquihue. Its wooden houses are a legacy of the mid-19th century, when German colonization reshaped the southern shore. From its streets, the view is a constant, silent reminder of the forces at play. Across the water, the volcanic chain keeps its vigil. Here, human settlement is an ephemeral sketch, drawn upon a canvas of immense power. The lines men draw are erased by ash. The homes they build are dwarfed by the peaks. It is a place that teaches a difficult lesson, that history is not measured in the lifespan of nations, but in the slow, inexorable grind of ice, and the sudden, violent fury of the earth. In the south of Chile, water is the anchor of the world. For generations, Lake Lanquihue has served as the geographic heart for all who live upon its shores. Communities took root at accessible points along the coastline, where the first fishing sites and rudimentary docks were hewn from the wilderness. From these shores, vast, uninterrupted expanses of water provide a stage for the giants of the Andes, a vantage point from which early observers recorded the fiery breath of volcanoes during the 19th century. Dominating the horizon is Osorno, a sharply defined cone that rises in stark perfection above the surrounding foothills. A permanent mantle of snow grips its upper slopes, creating a brilliant, unwavering boundary between the white summit and the dark volcanic rock below. Its lower elevations are a testament to ancient power, broad, open surfaces shaped by the memory of lava, their ridges and channels running downslope in clear, immutable lines. Here, the forest thins, surrendering the land to open fields of stone. Deeper in the mountains, Lake Todos Los Santos occupies a profound basin at the base of several Andean peaks. Water arriving from the high basins gives the lake its characteristic, impossible green. Its shoreline is not a gentle invitation, but a dramatic boundary, a narrow edge bordered by steep, forested walls that rise sharply from the water. Dense vegetation covers nearly every surface, with only small breaks where natural terraces meet the lake. Low clouds drift across the ridges, a constant presence that can swallow the shoreline in an instant. Traveling west, the air grows heavy with moisture. The landscape begins to yield to a coastal climate, a prelude to a world apart. Across the channel, on the southern coast of Chile, lies Chiloé Island. Here, one enters a realm ruled by mist and tides. Castro, the largest and oldest town on the island, occupies a series of terraces descending toward the bay, a harbor alive with the daily commerce of fishing vessels and transport boats. While tourism has become a vital economic force, the island's true character is found along the edges of its coves. Here stand the palafitos, stilt houses perched on massive pilings driven into the tidal flats. Their height is a direct response to the ocean's rhythm, exposing a forest of wooden supports at low water. They form narrow corridors, caught between the sea and the rising ground behind them. Throughout the archipelago, another legacy endures. Wooden churches, built from native timber, occupy the central positions within long-established settlements. Each varies in its form, a subtle signature of local building practices and the materials the land provided. Some retain elements dating from the 19th century, their distribution a map of the original communities that first tamed this wild coast. This is a landscape shaped by low mountain ridges, deep river valleys, and dense temperate forest. Streams descend from the interior hills, flowing toward sheltered bays, to form narrow floodplains and small deltas. In this corner of the world, life is not lived upon the land, but in a constant dialogue with water and wood, tide and time. It is a testament to resilience, a culture carved between the forest and the sea, forever shaped by the forces that command this edge of the earth. Here, the land surges from the sea, a landscape of forested slopes, wetlands, and open water, all compressed into a narrow, vertical world. Life is governed by the rhythm of the ocean. In the pre-dawn quiet, small boats slip from sheltered coves, seeking hake, coastal shellfish, and seaweed in the local grounds. Further out, along the wider channels, the geometry of human enterprise marks the water, lines of buoys and platforms for the cultivation of mussels and salmon. Their harvest flows back toward processing points nestled in the main bays, a constant, circling current of work and sustenance. But it is the tide that dictates the true tempo of existence. Twice each day, the water breathes, its levels shifting dramatically. At its exhale, vast mudflats are exposed, revealing the anchoring posts and skeletal frames of stilt houses, the palafitos. Boats, once afloat, now rest on the sediment, temporarily bound to the earth. Then, the tide returns. The same mudflats disappear beneath the rising water, and channels that were moments ago impassable become navigable arteries, allowing residents to move between settlements, to transport their goods, to reconnect with the wider world. Every act, repair work, the loading of cargo, the shortest of sea voyages, is a negotiation with this powerful planetary clock. Deeper in the heart of Patagonia lies an inland sea, Lake General Carrera. Its indigenous name, Chilenco, translates to turbulent waters, a fitting description for the largest lake in Chile. Here, fierce winds sweep across the basin, churning its surface into waves that rival those of an open coastline. In the light, the water glows a brilliant turquoise, colored by fine glacial sediment suspended in its depths. From this water rises something ancient. Along the shoreline, immense formations of solid marble emerge, stone that first took shape some 300 million years ago, during the late Paleozoic era. After the last great ice age, nearly 15,000 years passed. The relentless work of meltwater and waves began to exploit fractures in the rock. Over millennia, they carved the labyrinth of caves, tunnels, and sculpted archways. The exposed surfaces are streaked with bands of white and gray, whispers of blue and pink hinting at variations in their mineral soul. But inside, a transformation occurs. Where the marble meets the waterline, sunlight filters through the turquoise depths, casting an ethereal glow upon the lower walls, painting them in impossible shades of green and sapphire. Above, the stone retains its original tones. From every angle, a new palette is revealed, a cathedral of color sculpted by water and time. This is a world defined by steep slopes and the raw, rocky margins of a glacial basin. Vegetation clings in scattered patches to the shore, while the immense, open water fills the center of the vision. To Traversa Austral, a road stretching more than 1,200 kilometers, it was built to connect the isolated landscapes of Isen. It is not a highway in any conventional sense. Much of its length remains unpaved, a ribbon of gravel that clings to the natural contours of the land. It follows the dramatic lines of fjords, winds through primeval valleys, and skirts the edges of glacial basins, places that, until the late 20th century, had no continuous link to the outside world. To travel here is to witness three clocks running at once: the daily pulse of the tide, the geologic patience of stone, and the fleeting ambition of humankind. It is a journey not just across a map, but through layers of time itself, a profound encounter with a world that operates on a scale far grander than our own. The northern road enters a world apart, a humid, temperate rainforest, where ancient coigüe and manillo trees form a dense, living cathedral. Sheer walls of granite press in, rising directly from the pavement, while low-hanging clouds drift through the canopy, reducing the world to shades of green and gray. Across vast, silent intervals, small settlements appear, clinging to flat terraces carved along the fjords. Each outpost of humanity is an island, separated by the deep, cold water, and connected only by the steady rhythm of ferry crossings that stitch together a fragmented coastline. The great distances between them are a measure of the profound isolation this road was built to conquer, a testament to a time when land routes were merely a dream. Further inland, the landscape opens. The road enters valleys gouged by ancient ice, and the forest recedes to reveal wide, open ground. Here, long turquoise lakes fill the troughs between mountain ridges. Their impossible color is a liquid jewel, a pigment ground from the high basins by millennia of moving ice and delivered by meltwater. Near the route's midpoint, the settlement of Puyuhuapi occupies a narrow fjord, a testament to human endurance. Established in the 1930s by immigrant families from a distant continent, it retains its original character, a single, linear town stretched along the shoreline, its wooden houses and workshops all facing the water that is its lifeblood. South of the town, the terrain rebels. The road becomes more abrupt, climbing through slopes sliced by waterfalls that plunge from high, unseen cliffs. As the rainfall increases, the vegetation grows ever thicker, a relentless tide of green. The route descends into the basin of the Baker, Chile's most powerful river by volume. Its headwaters are born from two immense lakes, General Carrera and Bertrand, which release a flow of dense turquoise, a color created by fine glacial particles held in suspension. The river moves with deceptive speed through a wide valley, its course bordered by forested slopes and long gravel banks sculpted by the seasonal pulse of its flow. Countless tributaries join the Baker on its journey to the Pacific. At the confluence with the Neff River, two distinct worlds of water meet but do not mix. The Baker's turquoise channel flows alongside the Neff's lighter, opaque current, a ghostly white derived from the melt of a still-active glacier. Wooden and suspension bridges, marvels of rural engineering, span the river's narrow passages, linking the scattered communities of the Carretera Austral. From these crossings, the world unfolds, the serrated ridges above, the broad, braided riverbed below, and the ever-changing width of the channel as it carves its way toward the sea. Along the banks, dense evergreen forest is interspersed with gravel bars, skeletal remnants of the landscape revealed only when the river's powerful breath subsides. As the road pushes further south, the valley constricts once more, funneling toward the mountains that hold the Culotte Hanging Glacier. The way ahead narrows into the entrance of Culotte National Park. The humidity becomes a palpable presence, and the forest closes in, forming an impenetrable canopy along the lower slopes. Bands of cloud materialize around the higher ridges, swirling veils of mist that reveal and then conceal the colossal scale of the terrain. A constant chorus of water fills the air, a symphony of countless streams descending from unseen heights. And then it appears. Not a river of ice flowing through a valley, but a frozen waterfall suspended in time. The Culotte hanging glacier rests upon a broad ice shelf, poised impossibly above a vertical wall of black rock. It is a monument to a colder age, a silent, slow-motion river measuring its existence not in moments, but in millennia, a force of nature that continues its patient work of shaping a world that rarely stops to watch. An immense mantle of compacted ice smothers the high platform, its meltwater escaping through a dozen fissures along the precipice. The primary outlet becomes a singular torrent, a long cascade that plunges directly into the Cirque Lake below. From this height, the valley unfolds, its distant points rendered in sharp relief. The lake itself is an opaque jade, its color born of a fine suspension of mineral flour, the ground-down rock delivered by the ice. Between the scouring gusts of wind, its surface settles into a profound calm. Above, footpaths trace the ancient contours of the basin. On the lower slopes, dense stands of canelo and tapu thrive in the humid air. Higher, the vegetation clings in sparse patches, a final defiance before surrendering to sheer rock and the seasonal snows of the upper ledges. Further on, the valley breathes out, widening once more. A road, a thin gray thread, pushes onward toward the southern reaches of the Carretera Austral, a gateway to the Granite Dominion, to the very soul of southern Patagonia. Here, the settlement of El Chalten lies nestled in a basin carved by the slow retreat of ancient ice. It is a frontier post, the precise point where the vast, open steppe finally yields to forested slopes and the first formidable ridgelines of the eastern Andes. Trails bleed from the edges of the town, following the grain of the land toward higher ground, and from these thresholds, the titans of granite appear, one after another. Mount Fitzroy presides at the head of its valley, rising from a congregation of sharp ridges. It is a colossus, forged from hard granite, thrust upward by the immense pressures of tectonic birth. Its faces are sheer, vertical plains, etched with the memory of ancient fractures within the stone. Light finds each face at a different hour, illuminating the ridges in a slow, deliberate sequence. Surrounding spires erupt from the same massif, their narrow couloirs and steep shelves just visible from the world below. To the west, a different icon rises, Cerro Torre, a needle of granite, impossibly steep. The peak is tethered to a short chain of attendant spires, all born of the same fractured ridgeline. At its foot, a compact glacier occupies the basin, feeding a small lake often littered with fragments of fallen ice. Constant, violent exposure sheathes its upper section in a ghostly armor of rime ice, lending the summit a pallor that contrasts with the dark, unadorned walls below. Its severe profile and stark isolation make it an unmistakable sentinel in this kingdom of stone. South of these valleys, the formations transform yet again into the legendary towers of Paine. 3 titanic columns of granite erupt from the earth, rising in vertical defiance above darker, more yielding sedimentary layers. A stark, geological fault line marks the violent contact between the two. At their feet, shallow basins cup small lakes, their surfaces a nervous skin, quick to register the passage of the ceaseless wind. In this land, the monumental and the momentary are forever entwined. The unyielding stone is shaped by the patient water, and the silent peaks are given voice by the invisible wind. A timeless conversation between the elements, written across the face of the world. In the high ramparts of Patagonia, stone towers flare toward their foundations, the upper cliffs fracturing into a skyline of individual pillars and ledges. From one vantage, they align into a seamless wall of granite. From another, they stand as solitary sentinels, their true forms revealed and concealed by the shifting perspective of the valley floor. Nearby, adjacent ridges give rise to the formations known as the Horns of Paine, the Volcanoes. Here, the story of the Earth is told in 2 distinct chapters, a lower mass of dark, sedimentary rock, and an upper section of lighter, intrusive granite, thrust upward from the planet's molten heart. A single, narrow band, stark and horizontal, marks the violent contact between these 2 worlds, a scar drawn across the face of each peak. Around the Quanos, the landscape unfolds into broad plateaus and uneven highlands, with vast, open basins carved into the lowlands between the ranges. To the south, a network of connected valleys forms the central artery of the massif. Among them, the French Valley rises between two great ridgelines, terminating in a colossal amphitheater, a cirque of fractured granite. A testament to gravity's relentless work, fields of shattered rock litter the valley floor, while the surrounding walls are etched with impossibly straight, vertical and horizontal joints, as if carved by a divine hand. To the east, Lake Nordenskjold fills a long basin, its alignment dictated by the ancient flow of ice. Its shores are built of gravel terraces, monuments to glaciers long since vanished, while its water holds a steady, ethereal tone of blue-green. The lake serves as a natural frontier, separating the open steppe from the first formidable foothills of the Granite Kingdom. Farther west, nestled directly beneath the main towers, lies Lake Pahoe. In calm weather, the water is a lens of pure clarity, revealing shallow shelves that trace the shoreline before the basin plunges into profound depth. These interlocking valleys and lakes are the pathways, the natural corridors leading ever upward, toward the high basins where the great glaciers are born. Here, beyond the highest peaks, the terrain ascends into the vastness of the southern Patagonian ice field. It is a world of white, the source of the region's colossal rivers of ice. From this elevated ground, one glacier dominates the landscape, Perito Moreno. It spans the entire valley, a frozen tide more than 3 miles across, its face rising in a sheer cliff from the waters of Lake Argentino. Bands of sediment and compressed snow stripe the ice wall, distinguishing ancient, compacted layers from the new. Along these lines of weakness, immense fractures develop, branching outward in chaotic patterns. This is a place of constant, violent transformation. Without warning, ancient fissures surrender. A monolith of ice detaches, plunging into the lake with a sharp, thunderous crack that echoes for miles. The impact sends a plume of water soaring high above the glacier's front, as waves radiate outward to crash upon the distant shores. Along its flanks, deep crevasses and serrated ridges mark the inexorable path of its journey, silent, physical proof of an entire landscape in slow, unstoppable motion. In the high Andes, the ice tells a story of immense pressure and profound time. Some surfaces bear the scars of a sharp, prolonged impact. Others reveal a dense, unearthly blue, the color of ancient air trapped and compressed within. Darker veins run through the mass, ghosts of older material swallowed by the glacier's inexorable advance. Here, in Torres del Paine, the Gray Glacier flows, a frozen river carving its path through a long valley toward the waters of Gray Lake. From its colossal front, great monoliths of ice calve away, beginning a slow, silent procession down the central channel. Each iceberg is a unique sculpture, its shape a testament to the chaos of its birth. The densest pieces glow with that concentrated blue, a core of pure, compacted history. Driven by wind and current, they drift toward the lake's far shores. The calving front lies distant, a sheer wall of ice from which these frozen titans separate and begin their solitary journey. Their unhurried movement is a map of the unseen forces below, the shifting currents and the changing depths of the basin. Further north, higher still, tributary glaciers descend across exposed ground and through narrow passes. In these upper realms, compacted snow slowly transforms into glacial ice, its surface relentlessly sculpted by the Patagonian winds. The terrain is a rugged tapestry, woven from the seasonal variations of snowfall, year upon patient year. From these elevated ridges, one can see the individual arms of the ice field extending, each claiming its own separate valley, before widening into terraces that step deliberately down toward the valley floor. As the Andean foothills surrender their altitude, they transition into the Patagonian steppe. The world of ice gives way to an open plateau, a vast expanse defined by dry soil, sparse vegetation, and wide, exposed ground. The surface is a subtle palette of pale grasses and scattered shrubs, with long, level stretches running between low, weathered ridges. This is an unforgiving land. Snowfall is frequent, and frost holds its grip for much of the year, as temperatures fall to nearly 26 degrees Fahrenheit. Guanacos, moving in small, deliberate herds, navigate the open terrain between shallow valleys. Nearby, lesser rheas cross the grasslands in loose groups, seeking refuge in the taller ground cover. Life here is a study in adaptation. Patagonian foxes and elusive armadillos patrol separate territories, their routines dictated by the availability of food and shelter. The modern world makes its mark in defined zones, pockets of intense activity where sheep ranching and oil operations stand in stark contrast to the immense, quiet emptiness that surrounds them. The seasons wash over the steppe, influencing the color and density of the vegetation. Yet, the essential character of the plateau remains unchanged. It is a landscape that endures, a testament to the quiet, persistent forces that shape a continent, where life, against all odds, finds its foothold and holds on. Across the high plateau, the distribution of life remains steady, yet the seasons paint the landscape in shifting palettes of density and color. In the colder months, ephemeral patches of snow gather in shallow depressions, tracing the subtle topography that stretches deep into the interior. Here, the world breaks apart, the plateau fracturing into a vast and silent system of cliffs. South of the great glacial valleys, the terrain opens into the canyons of the Pinturas River. A trail, just under a mile, follows the precipice of the gorge, leading to a series of rock overhangs and a shallow cave known to the world as Cueva de las Manos, the Cave of the Hands. Within this shelter, the stone walls hold some of the earliest art ever documented in South America. They are not paintings of a world observed from a distance, but a direct, human touch. Countless hand stencils, created by spraying powdered pigment around hands pressed firmly against the cold rock. Their outlines vary in size and placement, forming a dense, overlapping tapestry that spans entire sections of the wall. These were more than mere fingerprints. They painted their world, herds of guanacos in flight, the visceral tension of the hunt. In this immense and unforgiving emptiness, a people gathered, dreamed, and left a deliberate echo, a message that has transcended 9,000 years. Protected by the overhanging rock and preserved by the arid canyon air, the ancient pigments retain their startling color. On several panels, newer stencils were placed over older ones, a layered record of generations returning to the same sacred place. Outside, on the low ridges, the cuñas move with a quiet grace. Their range follows the open plateaus that define this part of the interior. But this land does not go on forever. It descends, falling away from the high country toward the Atlantic, meeting a coastline of sheltered gulfs and shallow bays. Here, the Peninsula Valdez extends into the sea, a dry steppe platform where the cycles of life are dictated not by the sun, but by the tide. In these protected waters, southern right whales arrive to fulfill their primordial purpose. They rest, they mate, and they nurse their young in the calm inlets, their presence a testament to a recovery from the commercial hunts of the 20th century. Each whale is an individual, identified by the unique, unchanging callosity patterns on its head, a living signature. At the peninsula's heart lies Punta Norte, a place that reveals another of this coast's savage wonders. The shoreline is a combination of low gravel beaches and gently sloping rock platforms. It is a landscape engineered by the ocean for a unique and deadly purpose. As the high tide washes over the platforms, it allows the apex predator to enter the shallows. Their arrival is no accident. It aligns perfectly with the seasonal presence of sea lion pups gathered at the edge of the beach. For a brief, tense window, the world is transformed. The boundary between land and sea dissolves, and in this fleeting moment, the orcas hunt, surging from the depths into a world not their own. It is a spectacle of immense power and precision, a strategy passed down through generations. From the ancient hands pressed against a canyon wall, to the whale's unique mark and the predator's inherited knowledge, this land remains a canvas, etched with the profound and enduring signatures of life itself. On the shores of Punta Norte, an ancient strategy plays out, dictated by the rhythm of the tide. Predators advance toward the surf at a controlled angle, harnessing the momentum of incoming waves. It is a brief window of opportunity, a fleeting alignment of tide, current, and the distribution of life along the coast. Here, the very architecture of the beach conspires with the lunar cycle, creating one of the few stages along the Atlantic where this raw interaction is laid bare. Further south, on Isla Magdalena, life congregates on a colossal scale. This is one of the great Magellanic penguin colonies, a metropolis of sound and motion. Throughout the day, a constant pilgrimage unfolds as adults trace regular routes between their subterranean burrows and the shoreline. The nests are concentrated along low rises and open flats, wherever the soft soil allows for a stable home. Near the water's edge, the activity intensifies. Birds gather, a nervous energy building in small groups before they commit to the channel, a space they must share with opportunistic gulls and cormorants. But these southern waters hold a rare secret. A short distance away, across the fjord of Bahia in New Till, the useless bay, an unlikely colony endures. Here, a species seldom seen in this part of Tierra del Fuego has found a permanent home. They are the king penguins, the second largest of their kind. Their upright posture and distinctive coloration, a vibrant flash of orange and yellow along the neck and chest, stand in regal contrast to their smaller Magellanic cousins. They are a living jewel against the muted tones of the fjord. This is the island's only stable colony, nestled on a flat stretch of coastline surrounded by low dunes. During the breeding season, they congregate in dense assemblies on the compacted earth. Here, the next generation is not cradled in a nest, but balanced precariously on the feet of its parents, protected from the cold ground by a fold of skin. For weeks, the adults trade duties, one incubating the precious egg, the other foraging in the frigid sea. Soon, the chicks emerge, their recognizable brown plumage a stark contrast to the sleek formality of the adults. They gather in loose groups, a nursery at the heart of the colony. The patterns of life on shore are in quiet clusters, their forms stark against the open terrain. As the coastline narrows, the fjords converge toward the main passage of the Strait of Magellan, where the mainland finally surrenders to the archipelago. In this land at the end of the world, life is etched by wind and water, a testament to endurance. Each journey to the sea, each carefully guarded egg, is a defiant act of continuation against the immense, indifferent forces of the far south. At the very edge of the known world, a passage is carved between a continent and an archipelago. This is the Strait of Magellan, a shipping route since the 16th century, and a place where the elements hold dominion. Its narrow channels are choked by irregular currents, its air scoured by relentless winds. For the mariners who first charted these waters, it was an unforgiving crucible, a trial of navigation, where the sea's fury was etched into every logbook. Here, waves build with astonishing speed, crashing against the coastline of low cliffs and tide-swept beaches, a landscape perpetually sculpted by the push and pull of the Southern Ocean. Nestled on a small plain, caught between the Beagle Channel and the formidable Marshall Ridge, lies Ushuaia. It is a city born not of commerce, but of exile. Its settlement began in the late 19th century. Its first purpose, a prison, a final destination for the condemned. Around this fortress of solitude, the first roads, docks, and houses took root, a community built in the shadow of confinement. Echoes of this origin persist. Original structures are woven into the fabric of the modern streetscape, a constant reminder of the city's grim foundations. The settlement claws its way up the slopes behind the harbor, a terraced city shaped by the incline. Houses built on narrow ledges face the channel, their gaze fixed on the water. As the grid rises toward the lower ridges, it sheds its order, becoming an irregular pattern dictated by the unforgiving terrain. During the deep winter, daylight is a fleeting visitor. The city's life is defined not by the sun, but by artificial light. The glow of street lamps, the stark illumination of port facilities, and the lights of waterfront buildings become beacons against the encroaching gloom of an early afternoon. The harbor itself breathes with the seasons. From November to March, it is a global stage. Small expedition ships and research vessels line the docks, poised for the Antarctic travel window. Logistics teams coordinate departures, their plans a constant negotiation with weather and sea. But when this window closes, the traffic recedes. Only local transport and vital supply vessels break the quiet, a stark reminder of the city's profound isolation. Today, Ushuaia stands as the definitive departure point for voyages to the Antarctic Peninsula. It is a year-round gateway where the pulse of scientific and logistical missions never truly stops. Further inland, a ribbon of steel cuts a path into memory. This is the end of the World Train. Its narrow-gauge track was first laid not for tourists, but to serve the penal colony, hauling materials, firewood, and the prisoners themselves. Parts of that original alignment remain, a ghost in the machine of the current service. The train departs from a small station on the city's edge, plunging into a valley bordered by low forest and shallow wetlands. The tracks hug the base of the Fuegian Andes, passing through the very areas where inmates once felled timber under guard. Signs stand as silent memorials to their work sites. As the train pushes west, the terrain opens into clearings, scars left upon the landscape by the forced labor of a punishing past. Here, at the terminus of a continent, every feature of the land tells a story of struggle, of nature against humanity, and of humanity against itself. It is a place where the past is not buried, but is carried on the wind, etched into the mountainsides, and felt in the very bones of the city, a permanent testament to endurance at the uttermost end of the earth. On the slopes above, a line is drawn by time itself, a stark boundary between the vibrant green of new growth and the deep shadows of ancient forest. A path threads its way across wooden bridges, mirroring the sinuous curves of the river, before plunging into the protected woodlands of Tierra del Fuego National Park. This journey terminates where the valleys themselves surrender, funneling out into the legendary maritime passage known as the Beagle Channel. It is a corridor of water that belongs to two nations, Chile and Argentina, yet answers to neither. Roughly 2/3 of its expanse lies within Chilean waters, a sheltered passage carved between worlds. To the north, the lower Andean slopes rise into rugged, snow-dusted peaks. To the south, a fractured coastline of wooded islands and rock ridges stands sentinel. Its depths offer a sanctuary from the open ocean, a vital artery for science and transport at the end of the world. As vessels depart the port of Ushuaia, they glide past low cliffs that have become thrones for the architects of this shore, South American sea lions and fur seals. They rest on rocky ledges, using the cold, nutrient-rich channels as their private hunting grounds. Below the surface, another world thrives. In the shallow coastal flats, dense kelp forests rise toward the light, a vertical wilderness sheltering sea urchins and starfish, octopus, and the coveted king crab. Upon a small island, some 12 miles from the city, stands the Les Éclaireurs lighthouse. It is an iconic navigational aid, a beacon often mistaken for the true lighthouse at the end of the world, which lies on Staten Island, over 100 miles distant. That remote station remains restricted, a place reserved for science and the military, shrouded in isolation. Further down the channel, Isla Martillo emerges, its soft earth transformed into a bustling metropolis. From October to March, a dense colony of Magellanic penguins claims the ground for their breeding season. On the higher ground, near the island's edge, Gen 2 penguins have begun to nest. The constant, determined movement of thousands of bodies carves narrow paths into the soil, highways leading from the nesting burrows to the sea. Where the island chain finally breaks, the channel bleeds into the wider ocean. In the crystalline air, a new silhouette materializes on the horizon, the infamous outline of Cape Horn. It is a compact ridge of rock, rising from steep slopes that plunge directly into the sea, offering little shoreline, no quarter. These surrounding waters are the gateway to the Drake Passage, a place where wind and swell are the only true sovereigns. Historical logs are filled with the ghosts of shipwrecks, vessels lost while attempting the perilous crossing between the Atlantic and the Pacific. From this point on, no land interrupts the route south. There is nothing but the vast, breathing expanse of the Southern Ocean. When the journey is over, Patagonia does not fade. It remains as a quiet afterimage, light on rock, wind over open ground, the distant, percussive break of ice. These impressions linger, outlasting the memory of the places themselves. So much of this region remains unmapped by experience, still unseen. There are valleys without names, coastlines that few have walked, and routes that continue on, far beyond the edge of our world. Never all at once. They are opened, one by one. The journey to this precipice has been a testament to a will that would not be broken. And so, we acknowledge not an arrival, but the immense distance that has been crossed to stand here, at the edge of what comes next.